think you got them stopped now?
Yeah, I think the dogs have stopped. So, Grandpa,
Yeah.
it is now January 2nd, 2000.
Oh.
And you're what, 91 years old now?
Yes, I am.
Born 1908?
Right.
What's your earliest memory from your childhood?
My earliest memory?
Yeah.
Of an electric train, it wasn't not an electric train, but a wind-up train that my daddy bought for me and made a great big bed. I was sick. I had diphtheria, and I was recovering, and they had me in a great big double bed, and he put a big platform on that bed and put the track for the railroad down on it, and all I could do was sit there and play with that railroad while I was recovering from that diphtheria.
Do you remember about what year that was?
That was about 1913.
1913. That's before World War I.
I was about 5 years old, and no, maybe so, but yes, that is the time that my fever went from 0 or whatever it was up to 107. And the doctor didn't think I was going to live through the night. But they had given me some diphtheria antitoxin that afternoon, and they didn't think it was going to work, but it did. So I'm still here. And then I remember the first Christmas tree that I saw that had burning candles on it instead of electric lights. And electric lights in the house where we lived, they were not electric, they were gas lights. You had to strike a match and light them.
So where they had the gas lines coming out of the wall?
Yeah.
And you just lit those?
That's right.
And prayed that you didn't burn the house down?
I imagine a few houses did burn because of that. Ours didn't, it's still standing.
Where was it that you grew up?
What? Where?
Yeah.
Well, I remember one thing about my first year at school. I went to Main Street School in Vicksburg, which was about 5 blocks down the hill toward the river from where we lived. And what I remember most about it was that my mama, whenever there was a rainy day, bad weather, my mama would go with me, come get me, and bring me a raincoat. And this day it was pouring down rain, and school was out, and Mama didn't show up. And I had to walk all the way up the hill in the rain, and I got home, I was just crying, "You didn't come and get me." Well, she said, "No, you got here all right without me, so I don't have to come get you anymore now." And she didn't, I don't admit it. Because the next year, in June the 15th, 1915, we moved to Leland. Moved all the furniture, moved it in a railroad boxcar. Had to load it, carried it in a wagon, carried it down to the track and loaded it in the boxcar, and then when it got to Leland, we had to go get a wagon to unload it. We lived in a house there for about 3 months. The fellow that owned it wanted it, and we had to get out, so we moved in another house. We were in there about 3 months, and the fellow that wanted it moved it, so we had to move into another house. We made about 3 moves there. Well, my dad had decided the best thing to do was to build his own house, so he started, and the house was complete. We got there in June, and my daddy's house was completed, ready to move in, and completed enough to move in January the 15th of the next year, 1916. And he put on a concrete walk from the front walk out to the sidewalk. And the day he poured the concrete, we had a big freeze, and the concrete froze. And forever after, that concrete had holes in it where the water froze, and it was rough concrete going to the house. And so then I started to school there then. I was in the 2nd grade. And I had 3 teachers that year. The first one got sick, and the second one got married, and the third one finished up for a year. And then I had another teacher for the 3rd and the 4th grade, same teacher. She'd been there a long time, Miss Ruth Gary. The 5th grade, we had a tall brawny woman that, boy, if you didn't behave, she slapped the fire out of you. Whang! She took no prisoners. She let them have it. But I didn't get slapped, but some of the boys did. Then we left the 5th grade, went back to the 6th and the 7th grade, and Miss Ruth Gary taught us again in those groups.
Tell me about the first time you saw an airplane.
First what?
First time you saw an airplane.
I don't remember it. I remember the first time I rode in one.
When was that?
A friend of mine who was a good bit older, but I was a friend of the family, and he was a good bit older. I always must have been about 14, 15, 13 or 14, somewhere in there. And he must have been about 25, between 25 and 30. But he bought an airplane. And he was flying, and he'd come back, and we got out there and watched, and he was taking up anybody that wanted to go. So I said, well, I'll go. So I went out and got in it. Got in it, we went up, and I flew all around, looking at things.
What did the plane look like?
It was just an old biplane thing, 2 wings on it, and with 2 seats, one for the pilot and one for his passenger, 1 propeller.
Was the plane covered in canvas or metal?
Canvas.
Canvas?
Yeah. And so we landed safely, and I got out. That was my first airplane ride. About my second airplane ride, I went to Leland one time, and OB was in Leland staying with my mama. She was sick. And I parked my car at the Vicksburg Airport, and I caught a ride from there up to Leland to see him. So I spent Saturday up there with them, and I came back Sunday. Got ready to come back home. I went to Greenville and got on a plane, DC-3, with one of those things holding about 12, 14 people, something like that. And I flew to Vicksburg. I got out, I had parked my car there, so I went over to get in my car, and I turned on the switch, and nothing happened. Tried it again, and nothing. And then the 3rd time I tried it, I heard some gears clashing. The motor was running, but from that flight, my ears had gone deaf. I couldn't hear a thing. But I did realize my motor was running, so I quit trying to start it then and put it in gear and drove on home. But that was on what they call a Buick. That must have been what they call a Cedarnet. It was, had a sloping back on it. I don't really remember that.
Did your family have a car when you were a kid?
What?
Did your family have a car when you were a kid?
Oh, when I was, we didn't get a car until about 1922. How old I been? I must have been about 14 when we got it.
Was it a Model T?
No, it was a Studebaker.
Studebaker.
And
did it have a starter, or did you have to crank it from the front?
Had a starter. No, we were high class. We had a starter. And so they were going to teach me to drive it. And I drove it around. I was 14. When the law was about, you had to be 16 or 18.
Did you have to have a license at all?
No, I didn't have a license. Didn't know what one was. So they were teaching me to drive. And right there where you go from my house over to the oil mill, you had to go up an incline, go over the railroad track, and go down. And so I was taking Daddy over to the mill. And I got right on top of the railroad track and killed the engine. Right there on the track.
Why did the engine die?
I didn't give it enough gas to get up there right. So he said, well, I was going to give you the privilege of driving, but now you've done that, I'm going to have to wait another couple of days till you drive a little bit more. So I did. We waited. And then I got to where I could drive anywhere.
You told me once that the old cars, they didn't have fuel pumps.
Didn't have fuel pumps.
Yeah, it caused problems going up hills.
Yeah. This was a Studebaker.
That one had?
The old Fords didn't have.
Tell me about those.
They're the ones you had to run up a high hill backwards.
So the gas tank would be over the engine?
The gas tank would be over the carburetor, and you'd back up the hill. lot of people try to go up a hill like this, no gas could run. The tank was down here and the carburetor's up here, wouldn't go. So you had to back them up, back up the hill.
But you had a fancy car.
That was the old Model T because it had the gas tank under the seat. And I don't know. I don't know too much about Vicksburg. I remember that my cousin, about 3 houses down the street from us, had an automobile. And it wouldn't run. And my daddy was down there helping him work on it. And 3 or 4 of us children were there looking down, and all of a sudden we said, "Look out, here she comes." And sure enough, they had it running, and it came up the hill onto the street. I don't know, when it got to Leon, we lived in that house, well, you know the house there, right there on
The one where Mom lived?
Garrison Street, yeah. But at that time, there was no houses across the street from it.
Uh-huh.
Nothing but a vacant lot. And the schoolhouse was at the end of the vacant lot. So all I had to do was step across the street and I was on the schoolyard. And
Did you used to go home for lunch?
oh yeah, yeah.
Did you have washing machines in your house when you were a kid?
What?
Washing machines, did they have? How'd you do laundry?
Huh?
How did you do laundry?
We didn't. The colored woman would come by and pick it up every Monday morning, take it home, wash it, iron it, fold it, bring it back Tuesday.
That were those old irons that you had to heat?
A lot of these big colored women who did just that, took in washing and got it all ready and brought it back. And it was just as good as today's laundry too. They were good. And
what about refrigerators?
we never heard of a washing machine. We didn't even have one when we were in Leland there for a long time, until finally we bought one, put it on the back porch back there. But that old girl didn't. When the girls began to die out and nobody else would wash it, then people started looking for washing machines.
What about the refrigerators? How'd you keep the food fresh?
Well, you had a refrigerator with a big hole in the top of it. And you could put a 50-pound pack of ice in there.
You had to actually put ice in it?
Huh?
You had to actually put ice in it?
Had to put ice in it, yeah. You had to go out and kiss the wagon when it went by. The ice wagon. Well, actually, you had a square board about the size of this napkin open, and on it was 4 letters. 25, 50, 75, and 100. And you put that in your front window. If you wanted a 25-pound block of ice, you put it with the 25 up. If you wanted a big block, 50, you turned it like that, put the 50 up. And when the wagon went by, he'd see the sign and he'd fit the temp, bring it down, put it right in your ice box. Now the first ice box we had, the lid rose up like this and you put it down in there and you put the food around the ice. That's about all it was. Then we had an ice box that the door opened and you put the ice in there in this compartment. And it was a bucket underneath it to catch the drippings as the ice melted. And over on this side was the refrigerator part, and the air, cold fumes would circulate through it and used it. Of course, it was a chance that stuff would get good and cold, but it did. And then after a while, we finally got an old refrigerator that had one of these, you've seen them, I know, a dome, a compressor up on top, round, the old General Electrics were made that way. And that was one of the first electric refrigerators we saw, but I don't think we ever had one with the thing up on top. I think we kept waiting until they got them down under the bottom. And
didn't those old ones run on ammonia?
huh?
Didn't the old refrigerators run on ammonia?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what the ice houses ran on, ammonia too. That was in the coils.
Yeah.
To make it freeze faster. You go to the ice house and they use ammonia.
It'd be kind of bad if it leaked.
Huh?
It would be kind of bad if it leaked.
You could smell it sometime. Mama used to cook on what they call some kind of perfection cooking stove. And it was coal oil. And she used to have to keep a big can of coal oil there.
Coal oil?
Coal oil.
Isn't that flammable?
And that's kerosene is all it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's flammable. So the little tank on the end held about a quart. And she'd keep it filled from her 5-gallon kerosene can. But then that would then run kerosene to a stove with 4 eyes on it. And it had a wick in them, just like a lantern.
Uh-huh.
And you'd light it and light the wick. And that's what you got your heat for cooking.
That's how the stoves ran?
Hmm?
That's how the stoves ran, on kerosene?
Either that or a wood. Most people have wood stoves.
The old cast iron wood
They
stoves?
have wood stoves, like OB's mother. That's all they ever had was old wood stove. Because they never did have any gas until finally a local gas company moved in there and started, and then they converted to gas. But they had lumber, wood stoves, long time. And,
What was the world like when you were in college?
not like it is today. It wasn't as bad. Lots better than it was. Yeah, they had for all sorts of professors and PhDs and what have you doing the teaching. But I went to the school the first year it was built.
Uh-huh.
In Memphis. The school itself had been in Clarksville, Tennessee. And
What school was it?
huh?
What school was it?
It was Southwestern Presbyterian University in Clarksville, Tennessee. But when it moved to Memphis into these new buildings and new administration building, new dormitories, new dining hall, everything brand new. They just dropped everything except Southwestern. The Presbyterian University and all that dropped it all. All they had was Southwestern. Then back about 1978, they decided that wasn't good enough for them up there. And they changed the name to Rhodes. And that's what it is today, Rhodes College. And I remember I was very late in my voice changing as a boy. And it started changing on me almost the day I entered college up there. And these upperclassmen, they're always trying to play tricks on freshmen, you know. And one day somebody made an announcement that the football team was going to play such and such a place, and the game was going to be at 2 o'clock. And so one of these upperclassmen, Martin, he got hold of me and said, wanted to make me make an announcement that for anybody that didn't have a way, the freight train was leaving at 2:30 or something like that. I don't remember just what it was. So he says, get it up, make that announcement. For those that don't have a way, the freight train's leaving. I said, yes, sir. So I got up, and every time I started to say something, my voice would say, the freight train. Everybody was just laughing their head off. Well, I lived in a room, well, I had a study room and a big closet and a bedroom. I had 2 rooms with a roommate. And my room went any further than here to that door right there, to the dining hall.
Pretty big room.
Huh?
Pretty big for a room in college.
Well, I mean, if the room itself, I guess it was about this size, but there was a partition between it. This was a study room, and that was room enough for two single beds in the other end, along with a chest, 4 drawers, and a clothes closet. But I mean, I could walk from that distance, and I'd be at the door to the dining hall. It was that close to me. The building that was in adjoined the building that I was rooming in.
What year did you go away to college?
1925.
What do you remember about World War I?
Not too much. I remember they had World War.
You were just a kid then?
That was 1918. I was 10 years old. And,
didn't care much about it at that age.
no, I didn't. I knew they were having a war and so forth.
Do you remember where you were when World War II started?
Yeah. I was down here.
In Port Gibson?
Mm-hmm. And it was a Sunday, December the 7th. So we went up to Leland for my birthday, the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were riding around, the radio came on with Pearl Harbor had been bombed. And that was the start of it. I came on back. Of course, everybody had to register with Selective Service. They gave me a deferment because as manager of a food processing plant making cottonseed oil.
Mm-hmm.
I kept that for a while. Back about 43, I guess it was. I got orders that they were running short of my draft board was in Leland for some reason. Because I had registered for the draft up there in Leland when I lived there. So I got orders to come up on a certain day to be examined, to be pushed into the service. I went up there, I got examined. They told me put me in 1A and you will be called. And the day I got home, the Army announced that they will quit drafting people over 30 years of age.
So you didn't have to go?
I was 32. No, I was more than that. It must have been 8. I must have been about 35. But so I didn't have to go. That get me out. And from then on, if you kept lowering the age, finally they just took a lot of 25s. And that's the way it was.
What was it like during the Depression for you?
I really didn't feel it. I came right out of school. I went right to work. And of course the salary I was getting was magnificent, getting $100 a month.
How much would that be worth today, do you think? By comparison.
Like what?
How much would that be worth, that much money be worth, today?
Oh, it would probably be about, it would have to be about thousands a day.
$1,000 a month? That's not too bad.
What?
That's not too bad for coming right out of college.
Yeah, but you see, well, O.B. was teaching school and she was getting $125 a month for teaching school. And then she got elected principal and she got $150 a month.
Tell me about when you met B.
Well, a couple of us boys were riding around one night, and a bunch of these school teachers that stayed together, they were going to the picture show. And then when we saw them, they were going back home, so we stopped and picked them up. It's me and one other boy in a sedan. About 3 or 4 of them got in there. And we said, well, where y'all want to go? We'll just take a ride. And O.B. says, no, sir, I'm going home. My back is killing me. I fell down the steps just before I came up here. And I didn't know I was hurting like that, but I got to go home right now. This was Christmas of 1928.
1928.
And so we took her home. And that's the last I saw of her.
Well, not the very last. You married her.
No, I mean, because I went back to school and she
went back to teaching.
Went home for the summer. And that next year, I was out of school. I was working at the mill. And I'd see her go by the house, going to school. She was living in a room just down the block. She'd come right by my house to go to school to teach. That's when the school was still, her school was still over there right in front of my house. But some houses had been built in between. But she had to walk around down to the corner.
So she's taught at the school that you used to go to?
Hmm?
So B taught at the school that you used to go to?
She did for a couple of years, and then after that they tore the school down and moved everything across the bridge. What they had done when I went there, it was a full 11-month school.
11 months for a whole year?
11 years.
11 year.
But when she was teaching there, it was only for primary 1 and 2 grades. They had them over there. And that's all that was in that school was the 2 grades. The rest of them had all moved over to the big building across the creek. So anyhow, when school started that fall, I'd see her going to, and I said, well, you know, that's the girl I picked up with the broken back, but I liked her. So I got one of my friends to get me a date with her for about the next week or something. She didn't know who in the world I was. I knew who she was, but she didn't know me. But she asked some of her friends about me before she would tell him, yeah, I could have a date with him. And they told her, oh yes, he comes from a good family. It's all right, he's just out of college, it's fine. So she did. So one of my boyfriends with me went by there and we picked her up and rode to Greenville to get his girlfriend. We rode around, I don't know, we might have gone to a picture show, I don't remember. Drove on back home and I took her out and that was my first date. And then after that, I just called her on my own. And after about Christmas, I was around there most every night. We'd go somewhere, do something. Wish very little. And then,
when did you decide that you wanted to marry her?
well, I must have been about Christmas of 92. And,
Christmas of 92?
32.
32.
Yeah, I'm a little bit mixed up there. And so I needed the money to get a ring. And my grandma had a pin she gave me. And my mama didn't want me to sell that pin, so she said she'd buy the pin. So she bought the pin. So the pin stayed in the family. And I got the money, I went over to Greenville and bought a diamond ring.
How much did it cost you?
$185. And
that's the ring that B gave to Valerie?
I don't know.
Is it that same ring?
Could have been. It was about a half a carat diamond in it.
Yeah.
So she had been down to Natchez one weekend around Easter of 33. And when she came back, I went around to see her. We went somewhere, and when we got back, I told her, I said, oh, I've got something here for you. And I pulled out that ring box and handed it to her. And she opened it up and saw what it was. She grabbed it out there and put it on her finger. So I got to go in the house. I got to go in the house. She wouldn't wait. I know she had to go upstairs and tell those roommates, show them the ring. Look what I got. But about a month before that, my cousin in Vicksburg had a little baby girl. And I wanted to go down there to see it. And I had bought a little baby's ring. And I had it in a ring box. Ready to get, that was a Saturday night, ready to go to Vicksburg the next Sunday. And we were playing bridge up at another friend's house. And this friend, she was a teacher, but she was married herself in her house. And she says, why don't you get OB a ring? Why don't y'all get me a ring? I said, I'm going to. I said, in fact, I've already got the ring. You have? I said, yeah, I've got it here. And I reached in my pocket and brought out that little ring box. She grabbed it and ran out of the room, go back there and open it up and saw that little baby. She came back and slammed it down and said, shame on you. But it then was, OB went off that way, and when she came back the next weekend when I gave her a ring.
I got to pause right now to change
the that was the first time she'd ever been out of town with another man and come back and another man gave her a ring.
I have to pause the tape right now so I can change it. Just a second.
Well, you got 6 of them there, Ed.
Okay, Grandpa, when we left off, you were telling me about when you asked B to marry you. What was the wedding like?
Oh, we had a house at home in her living room. Hey.
So you got married in B's home?
Y'all documenting? Huh? Y'all documenting?
Yeah, I'm interviewing Grandpa.
Good.
So you got married in B's house?
What?
You got married in her house?
Yeah, her house. In her living room. And all our friends were there. I there was her friends that all figured they were gonna mess my car up. So I had carried it up to the town above there at Pontotoc and left it in the garage, locked in the garage, and I spent the night at the hotel. They came and got me, and we had the wedding. All her friends were there. My uncle was there from Georgia, I got away. He must have been in Georgia when, and so he picked us up and carried me, and it was raining when the wedding was over.
It rained at the end of the wedding?
So we started out to the car. He was parked right there, and it was a mud puddle. And just as we got there, I stooped down, picked Obie up, to put her into the car. And when I did, I bent over and one of her friends was right behind me. And I bumped into her and knocked her in the ditch full of water.
Oh no! What was the ceremony like?
Oh.
Were you nervous?
Oh, was I? You bet. We were gonna get married at 10 o'clock.
In the morning?
Right, and because we were going to Chicago, and we were going to spend the first night in Memphis, but we had to buy a lot of furniture. And so...
You had to buy furniture? That mean you had your own place all ready to go to?
Yeah, I had a house rented. I don't know, let me see. You're talking about being nervous. 10 minutes to 10, I told Obie, I said, everybody that's going to be at this wedding is here. We don't have to do it right at 10 o'clock. We can go on now. She says, all right, let's go. So she grabbed up her flowers, and I said, are you nervous? She says, not a bit. And I said, well, I'll tell you, I think it'd be better if you turn your flowers around. She had all the blooms right up against the stem sticking out. Oh, she said, all right. So she turned it around, went out with the flowers right. And the evening before, we had gone to see this preacher. And he told us, says, now, I'm going to, when I get through the sermon, I'm going to say a little short prayer. And that'll be the end of it, it's fine. So we were standing up there, and I was standing up there in front of it, and if I'd have had a loudspeaker on it, or amplifier, you could have heard my knees a mile away. They were knocking together, oh, just like that. And the preacher got out, and he got up there, he pulled his paper out, and did like that, you know. And I looked, I said, well, he's more nervous than I am. And my knees quit shaking just like that. Absolutely. I just was so glad he did that. But they told me later, he wasn't nervous. He had the palsy or something, and he always shook. But anyhow, he stopped me from shaking. So after it was over, he said, now we'll have a prayer. So he started praying. And Obie and I were there. He prayed, and he prayed, and he prayed some more. And I punched her, and she looked at me, and I did like that. She knew what I meant. I was just, like he told her.
It was a short prayer.
She almost giggled out, and then he finally got through and turned us loose. Everybody throwed rose petals, and we were running for the car.
What did you do for a honeymoon?
Oh, we spent the first night in the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, and looking for furniture, dining room tables and chairs, and couches, and then we left the next morning to go to Chicago to the World's Fair. We got up there, and we got up to a place called Effingham, Illinois, and it was night, so I stopped and went to the hotel and got a room. Next day we went on to Chicago.
So you went to the Peabody again for your 50th anniversary, didn't you?
Yes, he sure did. Don't let these dogs follow you when you go now. They like to follow people. And the first day we were in Chicago was a Thursday. We got there Thursday. Traffic was horrible. And Friday we went to the World's Fair. I mean, we went all over that fair. Saturday morning, OB's feet hurt her so bad she couldn't put her shoes on. She managed to get her shoes on. We went downtown. We hunted the first shop we could find. She went in, bought a pair of shoes that were 3 sizes too big. And wore them for 2 days, and then we didn't go back.
What do you remember about the 38 World's Fair?
Oh, I couldn't remember any. I was General Motors and Ford and everything. I had a press pass to all those exhibits.
How did you get a press pass?
We were good friends of the editor of the Leland newspaper.
Oh.
And he gave us a press pass. And we could, everybody else, a big long line of people waiting to go in General Motors. We go in the side door with the press every time. We got it great. So when we went back to another World's Fair in New York in 1939, I got Edgar Crisler, the editor down there, to give me a press pass, and we had the same good luck. We could just go right in.
Go right in. So what did you do during World War II since you weren't drafted? What did you do for World War II since you weren't drafted?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Well, I was the war bond chairman for Claiborne County, for one thing. And I was the Red Cross chairman for the county, and God knows what else. Later on, Chamber of Commerce and something else.
Do you remember where you were when the war ended?
Yeah. I was in Fairleigh, Louisiana.
How'd you hear about it?
Radio.
Radio?
Mm-hmm. I was traveling with my traveling man to go see some customers over there. And about 4 o'clock that evening, he came across. I said, "Listen to that." Well, we had dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. Of course, the German part was over even before the Jap part.
The victory in Europe?
Yeah. But then after the Germans surrendered, then we turned all our efforts over there. And that's when they sent the A-bomb down there.
What did you think when you heard they used an atomic bomb?
Well, I didn't know what to think. I thought we'd won the war. They were telling the way they were describing. You see, I think they had to do it twice. The first time they didn't. They thought it was a fluke or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we dropped the second bomb, we dropped one on Nagasaki and one on Hiroshima or something.
Yeah.
And the second bomb, they immediately threw up their hands. We quit.
So what were the 50s like? Well, first tell me about when you adopted Mom.
That's right. I had a friend over in Oba, Louisiana. He ran a gin, and I was over there visiting him one day, and his wife came along. Had this little boy with her. We got to talking, and she had adopted that little boy. And she sold me on adopting somebody right then. So I came home and made some application. This was about August of '44. And I got all the stuff we needed, and I filled it in, and the lady called me up and said, "We want to come down and visit your home on a certain date." I said, "I'll be glad to have you." And they came down, spent the day with us from the Tennessee Children's Home, and said everything was fine, and they would call me. Well, September went by, and October went by, and November went by. I called a friend of mine who was on the board of directors of the Tennessee Children's Home. And he says, "I'll take care of that." Well, it wasn't long that they called me up and said, "We got just what you want." Just got an inside pull. And
did you ask for a girl specifically, or?
No, I just chose anything they got.
Just a baby.
She called and said she had a girl. So she wanted me to come up there and get it on the 24th of December. And I told her, I'll see you. And I got an OB said, I cannot go to Memphis on the 24th of December and get that baby. I don't have a diaper for her. I said, we can buy something. No, she was just so nervous she was about to back out. So we went to Leland and spent the night and went to Memphis the next morning after Christmas. And went on out there immediately and got the baby. Saw it rather, left it there and went down to Goldsmith's store and bought a carload of diapers.
Those are the kind of diapers that you had to wash, aren't they? It's before disposable diapers?
I don't know. Oh, they were washed in. Well, yeah, you washed it. So when we went back and got her, and cold, it was freezing weather. But boy, she was all snuggled in the back seat and the car was good and warm. I stopped at Clarksdale, went into a drive-in and got them to warm me a bottle of milk. And they did. And I went back out and OB gave her the milk. In a few minutes she smelled up the whole car. And I said, don't try to change that baby in this car right now. Just stay with me, we get to Leland. So we did. We had a little old dog she called Pudini. And when we put the baby in a crib right there in the middle of my den room, old Pudini, she got up on it and she had her nose would just go in the crib. She went all the way around looking at that baby. I guess you remember that? No, you wouldn't.
So what did you think the first time you saw Mom?
I was disappointed.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting a little bald-headed baby, and she turned out she had a head full of black hair.
Who decided on the name?
We did. I guess she did. We did. We just said that.
Did you talk about it, or it just came to you?
I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't remember? So now that you had a little baby, what were the 50s like?
Well, she was all of it. There wasn't much difference between just seeing her go to school and seeing her seeing her grow up.
Did Mom like to listen to rock and roll?
Oh, I used to travel a whole lot, and I'd go through Natchez. I'd stop at a record shop and bring her something of Elvis Presley's or somebody else that she liked. She'd have a record player. That's all. Now I am. Then I retired.
When did you retire?
I retired in 1973. I was 65 years old that year. And I told them, I said, 2 years beforehand, I said, y'all can get ready. I said, when I get 65, I'm retiring. I ain't staying here. And all right. So December 8th, I left there, took everything I had down there with me and brought it. I said, I'm through. That's yours. Go ahead.
Do you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Did what?
The Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s.
Me?
Yeah, do you remember it?
No.
No?
No, why?
It was kind of an important event at the time.
Huh?
It was kind of important at the time, wasn't it?
What?
With the Cubans, when they had those missiles pointed at the United States.
Oh, Cuba. Oh, yeah, I don't.
Didn't think much of it?
Didn't think much of it. No, I really didn't. It didn't bother me.
What about the space program?
Well, I like the space program. I think I was in Stockholm, Sweden, when the boys came back from on the moon. They'd been up walking on the moon, and they were coming back into the United States, and we were watching them on TV.
Do you remember when you first heard that they landed?
No.
You didn't watch it on TV or anything?
Yeah, we were watching it on TV.
You watched it on TV?
Yeah.
What did you think when you saw them land?
Yeah, well, all right, they got back safe. Yeah. Then we saw them later about walking on when they were walking on the moon.
You did a lot of traveling.
Me?
Before. Because you have all those slides of Russia and Hawaii and such.
Yeah.
When did you go on those trips?
69.
69? What did you think of Russia in 1969?
They were way just back like out back country used to be. A lot of course, the hotels, brand new hotel, and the floors were so rough you'd trip on them. The workmanship was terrible. But they had some beautiful museums and what have you that they had over in the Kremlin. All in gold-laid thrones and gold-laid buggies and carriages and stuff, crowns, beautiful stuff. But it was just, that was just for the hoi polloi. It wasn't the old poor Russian. Just the old babushkas, grandmas running around with loads on the back. They were way behind us at the time we were there.
What was it like when Mom decided to get married?
Who?
What was it like for you when your little girl decided to get married?
When me and my little girl decided.
Mom, when she got married.
So what?
To Dad. Tell me about when Mom married Dad.
Oh, I get what you're talking about now. Well, I don't know that. Yeah, she came in. She wanted to get married, and he's all right. So we had to work with Mimi, trying to plan it and get it all right. And I don't know who picked the dresses, who picked it. I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with it.
From your point of view as a dad, you didn't do
I
much.
was just in it. She had always been having a nervous stomach. You know, she gets sick, you know, and anything like she ought to get a piano recital. So I said, you know, this is a pretty big thing that's getting ready to come up. She's bound to get sick on me. So we stayed at home while the rest of the part was going on, all the preliminaries, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I told her, I said, I don't know whether I can go down there and give you away or not. And I said, my stomach is just rolling. I'm having a terrible time. I'll try to make it. And so she started bracing me. And she drove the car to the church and she got me out. I looked at her and she was doing all right helping me. I think she'd probably forgotten herself. But I knew she was just going to get sick and throw all over everything before, you know. But I was the sick one. So she got me to the door, and then she had to leave me, of course. And went in there and came back out and got on my arm, and we walked down there together. She was all right. But I didn't know how she was going to take it. And then they left. They got the sheriff to take her car and hide it for him till they were ready.
So how did you feel when you learned you were going to be a grandparent for the first time?
Well, I don't know. It made me feel older, I reckon.
That was 1967 that Val was born, wasn't it?
Yeah, January. No, February. Yours is January.
Mine's January.
Hers is February the 7th. Yours is the 29th. Same date, Isabel's birthday, 29th.
Is it?
And that's it. Now you got you.
In the 70s, yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember the gas crisis in the 1970s?
No.
Never really affected you here?
No, except I had to pay too much money for a tank. The gas crisis was back during World War II.
Well, that was gas rationing.
Yeah, but it was a crisis too because you couldn't get gas.
Didn't they have to give little cards to say when and how much gas you could get?
Yeah, right. Same way with your sugar, your lard, your gas. I think there was something else in there too. Meat. Yeah. Go down to the ration board and get your share.
So did you ever think you'd make it to the year 2000?
No, sir, I never had any idea that I would make it to the year 2000. I thought if I made it to the year 1990, I'd be doing good.
Well, you made that and then some.
Yeah, sure did. I don't know how many more I'll make now. I know I won't make 21, though. Everybody's living longer nowadays, though.
So now that you've lived all this time, do you have any advice for others?
No,
No? All this time?
just keep your mouth shut. The more you talk, the more trouble you can get into.
That's sometimes true. So did you have a good New Year?
What?
Did you have a good New Year?
Oh, New Year?
Yeah, New Year's.
Yeah.
It's a couple days ago.
Huh?
It was a couple of days ago.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, no telling, no. In a couple of days, yeah, it was. What's today, Sunday?
Today is Sunday, January 2nd,
Yesterday.
2000.
Yesterday was,
New Year's Day.
yeah.
What's your happiest memory?
Oh, I wouldn't know. Everything's been fine with me all my life.
Had a good life, huh?
Right.
Nothing special that stands out in your memory?
No?
Really?
I thought it was the day you went to get your daughter.
Did what?
Mom says that she thinks it was the day you went to get your daughter.
Oh,
Was your
yeah.
happiest
We've already
memory.
talked about that.
Well, this was your happiest memory.
We've already talked about this going up there and getting it, and Mama wouldn't go.
I know she didn't want me.
She was nervous.
What's the matter with your hair? Oh.
It looked awful.
Your knee hurt?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this little interview, Grandpa.
Okay, wait. What are you going to do with that now?
Save it,
Okay.
because chances are you won't be around much longer.
That's right.
Wayne,
It's the truth.
we told
That's
him,
what happens with old people.
we told him he had to live at least to 100.
Well, what time,
Well, I'm going to stop the tape now.
okay.
Bye, Grandpa.
All right.